Okay, so today we continue with our class Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, and we start with the Sefer Shmiras Haloshon. And the topic is sensitivity in speech. Even if one has become accustomed to speak in Lashon Hara, and so overcome by his evil inclination that forbidden talk pours from his lips without even realizing what he is saying, nevertheless he should not despair. Through the proper study and review of the relevant laws, a dramatic change for the better will occur. His very nature will change, and he will find himself carefully weighing his own words as he speaks. Even if he will speak by avak Lashon Hara, the words that can lead to Lashon Hara, he will take note of it, and he will be careful not to repeat his mistake. What we are talking about person who continuously speaks Lashon Hara and he cannot stop himself here. So he would think, how can I change? That's my life. I come to the place and looking to somebody to share the news, right? So how can I stop? But Hafetz Chaim said, no. If you learn the outcome of your speech, the disaster that comes out of your words, so most likely that you would be able to change. Okay, and that's what he's saying. All right. So, and it takes some time. That person can change for sure if he knows that the price to pay people change. Okay. HaShem has endowed the man with sensitivity, especially with regard to the matters personal speech. This ability is a great asset in the study of the Torah. For when a student enunciates his thoughts, he can better perceive whether or not they are correct. As the sages state, for the words of the Torah, are life to those who express them with their mouth. It says Eruvin 54a. This ability to discern is true regarding other areas of speech as well. So how to know what you think is correct, is true? So you run by your rabbi, so you can say, Rabbi, I think this and that. Do you think it's correct or not? So or you explain this thing in the class, right? Did I understand it correctly or not? So that's a proper approach. And sometimes when somebody give you answer, you would ask a person back, I understood your answer like this. Is it correct or not? So that's so that shows how your speech can be analytical, and same is not only with the Torah, in a Torah content, but even in everyday life. However, such sensitivity is exceedingly weakened through the habitual involvement in idle conversation, and according little thought to what one is saying. So people who like to talk, for sure they're in grave danger, right? To control every word that is going to come out of that person's mouth is very hard. So I would say just listen to the lectures. Wherever you are, you're on the street, you go to work, you go from work, you're on the work, if you don't have to pay close attention to whatever you're doing, or you're on a break, so listen to the lecture. You would not need to talk to anybody. However, when one studies the law of the proper speech, and as a result become cognizant of his own verbal expressions, this sensitivity returns little by little. I talk less and think before you talk. This is until it attains the original strength. Okay, so go back little by little. So let's see. So we continue. So we continue with the Siman number 40. It's a very long Siman, Baruch HaShem. And our topic is laws of washing hands for a meal. Okay. And Sif number 16. One who during the meal touches his body and places, so last halacha was about what to do if one went to the restroom and now he wants to wash for the meal. Okay, so we continue. Now something happened during the course of the meal. If one during the meal touch his body in a place where it's usually covered, or scratch his head, or urinated, must wash his hands with for Netilas Yadayim second time. But he should not recite the blessing upon this washing. Likewise, even if he relieved himself, there is defecated, and therefore washed his hands during the meal, he should not recite the blessing al Netilas Yadayim for washing. Okay. So, okay, we're going to see the commentary. It's not so simple, so let's do from the beginning these commentaries, and we're going to explain. So one who during the meal touched his body and placed in a place that you usually cover. So places where you usually covered is everywhere, like right? Besides yes, the face and your hands. It's everywhere. So I'm not sure about maybe women not obligated to cover from the elbow and below. Maybe this part is also a little, even though it's proper, but not obligatory 100%. So maybe that part. Could you put us on mute? Whoever is it? Could you mute your microphone, please? Thank you. Okay, so but all other places, or you fix your hair, there is no problem. But if you scratch yourself under the kippah, which is the place that they usually covered, or married women, they cover their head and they scratch themselves, the scalp. We're not talking about fix the hair, but we're talking about scalp. So all of this, if somebody's scratched that place, so they have to wash their hands again. So commentary: a certain area of the body considered halachically to be usually covered, regardless of how people in the region dress. So you say, no, when we live, everybody going with a short sleeve and shorts. Okay, that's what they go, but it's not halacha. Halacha does not change according to these people. Right? Halacha is halacha, right? So okay, so even for men, even if all his life he goes with a short sleeve, still his hands are supposed to be covered. So if he touches that, so it's he has to wash his hands. Other areas of the body depend on the private custom. Okay, Yadayim. Okay, Mishnah Berurah. Continue. So okay, so he touched the part of the body that's usually covered, or scratched his head, or urinated. He must wash his hands, Netilas Yadayim second time, but should not recite the blessing upon washing. Okay, that's what he said. Okay, so you finish whatever you do, or you touch your shoes, for example, right? You would need to wash your hands. Likewise, even if he relieved himself, there is defecated, and therefore washes his hands during the meal, he should not recite the blessing of Al Netilas Yadayim. Okay, let's see what Mishnah Berurah says. According to the Mishnah Berurah 164:13, one who defecated is actually soils his hands in a manner that would require Netilas Yadayim. See Mishnah Berurah there. Okay, Bir Halacha. During the meal, must recite the blessing upon the washing Netilas Yadayim second time. When washing in these circumstances, one need to wash only once. He first recites Al Netilas Yadayim, then Asher Yotzer. Okay. See below 42:22 regarding the obligation Netilas Yadayim for one who diverted his attention from the meal and then wished to continue eating. So we're going to speak about it. It's two chapters from now. Okay, so basically he went to the restroom. Number 2, so if he soiled his hands, so he would have to wash with a blessing. Okay, with a blessing. And even one time is enough, right? So one time, when we wash for bread, we said 2 times. We say 1, 2, and 1, 2 on the left hand, right? But here we said 1 time is enough. He said the blessing according to Mishnah Berurah, and then he said Asher Yotzer, meaning the blessing after the restroom. So one washing is actually is sufficient for 2 blessings. 69. Okay, so continue. Next, CF number 17. One who eats any food that is commonly dipped in liquid, or a food upon which the liquid was poured, and at the time when he is eating the food that was dipped, or upon which liquid was poured, it is still wet from the liquid, even if he does not touch the place on the food that has the liquid on it. For example, the part that is wet. Nevertheless, he must wash his hands before eating it. However, he should not recite the blessing al Netilas Yadayim. Many are lenient with this regard to this practice, and do not wash before eating such foods. However, every God-fearing person should act stringently with himself and wash. Okay, so it's very well-known halacha that many people just ignore straight without even second thoughts. So which is absolutely wrong, and we'll see why. So from the beginning there are many commentaries, and we're going to explain. One who eats any food, the commentaries say, even fruit, vegetables, or meat. Mishnah Brura 158. So okay, that is commonly dipped in liquid. So I would say the common example would be dipped in liquid. What do we dip in liquid? If you have some jar with pickles, right? So these pickles are in brine, so that's what it is, right? Or the food upon which the liquid was poured. So you were washing your apple. So you want to eat apple. You wash your apple. So usually people don't wipe it exactly 100% dry, right? So it is washed, and you must wash your hands. Commentary. This is also included fruits and vegetables that were immersed in the water, immersed in or washed with water to clean before eating. Mishnah Brura. I mean, Mishnah Brura, it's very clear halacha. I'm not sure why many people dismiss it. The law of our Sefer applies only in cases where it is customary food to be dipped or to have liquid poured on it. Mishnah Brura 158:12. I mean, but before eating vegetables, maybe bananas people don't wash. I know, but we won't wash this oranges, because they spray these oranges with such some stuff. Right, well, whatever is it, if you start cleaning, peeling the orange, your hands are like strange color. So we try to wash all of this thing, so it would not come on the orange itself, and only then we eat. But we're not talking about this. We're talking about, I would say, apples and plums and I don't know, peaches and other things, right? So you want to wash them. Okay, they're still wet, because I think it's very hard to make them completely dry. So you have to wash your hands, and and of course without saying the blessing, and you can eat them. So one more time the whole sentence. One who eats any food that is commonly dipped in liquid, or the food I don't have any specific example of the foods that people usually dip in liquid. There are dips, but I'm not sure. I would not have example, but these pickles for sure. All of the pickled vegetable. Dip in liquid, or food upon which liquid it was poured, as we said, to wash apples. And at the time when he was eating, the food was dipped, or upon which the liquid was poured. It is still wet from the liquid, even if he does not touch the place on the food that the liquid was on it. Okay, so I mean, he holds from another side. There is the part that is wet. For example, if he dips something, let's say in a vinegar, let's say there is a balsamic vinegar, and you want to dip your carrots. Okay, so of course the place. So you let's say you eat these baby carrots, right? And you dip the baby carrots in this balsamic vinegar, and you want to eat. So of course you dip from a different side. You're not going to touch the liquid, but still in this case, they say, the Mishnah Brura said, Kitzur and Mishnah Brura says you have to wash your hands. For example, okay, no, so he gives even better example. For example, he eats with a fork, right? Or one dips part of in a liquid. Here's my example, second one. But see Sif 20 regarding foods that are originally eaten with utensils. Okay, so here the commentary, I'm not sure whose commentary is it, but they say even if he eats it with a fork. So in my example, baby carrot, he dips one side and that's it. Okay, but even that, okay. However, he should not recite the blessing Al Netilas Yadayim. Many are lenient with regard to this practice and do not wash before eating foods, such foods. However, God-fearing person should act stringently with himself and wash. Commentary. According to some authorities, this halacha applies only when people were able to avoid tumah caused by eating impure foods. Since nowadays most people are considered ritually impure, one need not wash before eating such foods. Okay, see introduction to the Siman. In recognition to this opinion, we do not recite the blessing of Al Netilas Yadayim when washing for these foods. However, since many later authorities hold that this Netilas Yadayim is required, like Netilas Yadayim before eating bread, Kitzur encourages God-fearing people to adhere to this practice. See Mishnah Brura. Okay, 1 second. Let me just see. In recognition of this opinion, that so what they're trying to say, that in the days when we had temple, we had the red cow, and it was and we were able to purify people who were in contact with the dead. So that they, let's say they went to cemeteries, they step over the graves, and or they participated in a funeral and stuff like that. So of course they were under the same room, under the same roof with a dead person. Okay, or they touched one of the 7 animals, right? That transmit impurity. Okay, many things. Okay, so when we had the red cow, so Kohanim were able to purify us. So today we don't have, and they say that all of the people, all of us, are ritually impure, and there is no way for us to get pure until Mashiach comes, of course. So okay. So this the second opinion says basically saying, since we are everybody impure, so maybe there is no point of trying to wash our hands, right? So why? What is the problem with the liquid? This water is one of the 7 liquids that transmit impurity, right? One of the 7. So if there was some impurity on the apple, this and that, so it can or I can transfer, for example, if I'm impure, so I can transfer the impurity to the food. Okay. So continue. In recognition of this opinion, we do not recite the blessing Al Netilas Yadayim when washing for the food. Okay, so we don't. However, since the many later authorities, so meaning what? There is no point we say about, Al Netilas Yadayim, we say who sanctified with purification of the hands. So they're not pure, right? Washing of the hands. Okay. However, since many later authorities hold that this Netilas Yadayim is required nowadays, like Netilas Yadayim before eating bread, right? So some people say, yeah, you have to wash even with a blessing. Kitzur encouraging God-fearing people. So meaning on these fruits, before eating the fruits, you have to say you wash your hands and you have to say the blessing. And not only fruits, any moist food. Kitzur encourages God-fearing person to adhere to this practice. Meaning, okay, they say don't say the blessing, but at least wash your hands. So try to be careful and try to implement this halacha. It's very, very important. Okay. Any questions on what we said so far? Okay, no problem. So number 18. Nice halacha. There are 7 liquids. Oh, here we go. There are 7 liquids that qualify with regard to this halacha. They are wine, and similarly wine vinegar, bees honey, number 2, number 3 olive oil. So all of these liquids transmit impurity. Number 4 milk, and whey is also included in this category. 75, let's see. Whey is the watery part of the milk that separates when the curds during the cheese making. So when you're making home cheese, right? So when you separate, you put in a cheesecloth, and there's a liquid. So you hang it somewhere. So this liquid that comes from the cheese is called whey. Okay, so they actually say the milk and whey is in the same category. So it was number 4. Number 5 is dew. Okay, number 6, blood of an animal, beast or fowl. Blood of an animal, beast, so there is no human blood. There is even one eaten for medicinal purposes. Okay, so let's see. So let's try to understand. So dew is clear. The blood of the animal, beast of the fowl. So what is it? What do they say here? So in some instances we allowed to eat non-kosher food. For example, if there is no any other food, and the only food is we have is not kosher, and it's for pikuach nefesh, this person's life in danger, so we would allow him to eat non-kosher food, right? But okay, so even though it's allowed, it's not for free, right? It's not even like why? Because first of all, it's going to affect his soul for sure. This blood of the animal, of the forbidden animal, is going to go his brain and contaminate his brain. That's for sure. And the second thing is that it's going to make him impure, right? As we said, this commentary. Under the normal circumstances, it is forbidden to consume blood. An ill person, however, may consume blood in certain circumstances. So I don't think they say like straight blood. I mean, maybe in olden days they would eat blood or drink blood of certain animals. I don't know. But today I would say this meat, whatever the meat they ate with the blood inside, non-kosher meat. And number 7 is water. Mnemonic to aid the remembering of this 7 is Yad Shachat Dam. Okay, so commentary say each letter is the mnemonic represents the first letter of Hebrew word of one of the liquids in the order listed above. Okay, so even in this order. So one more time, let me repeat without explanation. So it's wine and vinegar, bees honey, olive oil, milk, whey, dew, blood of the animals and fowl, and 7 water. Okay, so all of these liquids that transmit impurity. So for example, if you want to eat apple first, on Rosh Hashanah we eat apple, right, and we dip it into honey. So this honey, as we said, so my apple is dry, 100%. I cut it in slices like a long time ago, I don't know, 2 hours, let's say before the meal, it's dry completely, there is no problem whatsoever. But what is the problem is, the honey. So of course there is no problem if you eat it during the meal, right? So if you wash already for bread, so you're fine. But if you did not eat, if you did not wash the bread for bread, so this would be an issue. That would be a good example, I think. When you dip apple into honey. Okay. Continue. However, other fruit juices, even when it is common to produce drinks by squeezing the certain fruits, do not have halachic status of liquid with regard to this law. Okay, so I mean, Kitzur is very, very clear. So only these 7 liquids and not any others. So what any others, like fruit juices and all of the other variation of water, whatever you do with the water, they still they still transmit impurity if you add something to the water. Okay, so continue. Number 19. Kitzur discussed the halachic status of preserves with regard to this law. Fruits that were preserved in sugar, preserves, do not require Netilas Yadayim because the sugar is not liquid, and the moisture that exudes from the fruit is not considered liquid in regard to this halacha, since it is fruit juice. See previous year. Okay, so so let's try to understand. So how do you make preserve? You put like fruits, you cut them in pieces, and you put a lot of sugar on them, and then it start right. It's giving out the juice, and then you cook it, and that's the preserve. So this juice that comes out of the fruit is not liquid, right? It's not. It's considerably part of the fruit. It's not liquid, so which is very good. And there was no water. You usually people don't add water because it would be too watery. The juice inside is more than enough. Okay, continue. So basically, there is no problem with preserve whatsoever. However, if they are preserved in honey, then this law is that the honey has hardened well. Then it loses the status of liquid and attains the status of solid food, and therefore does not require Netilas Yadayim. So what they're saying here is sometimes even today they make these candy bars, right? So how do they make candy bars? What was it like? There is a bar. It's called Kind bar. Kind. There is different kinds of the Kind bar. The Kind is a brand, right? So they put all of the nuts, all of the chocolate chips, and some other things, right? Seeds, and then they pour over the honey, and then they cook. I don't know, whatever they do, they dry. So this honey is is the thing that holds everything together. So it's dry, completely dry. So in this case, Kitzur is saying, so this honey is not liquid. Yeah, it's honey. So you see, it's honey, but then it tastes like honey, but it's not liquid for our purposes. However, if the honey did not totally harden, but only thickened somewhat, right? It's still liquid. So if it's not hard, completely hard, it is still liquid. Then in this case, the fruits do require Netilas Yadayim. So I'm not sure what food is it, but let's see. Maybe they're going to give us example. So they put a lot of honey on top. I don't know. Let's see. Mishnah Brura 158:14, right? That it is considered liquid if it is the moist enough that the object touches it, will be able to moisten the third object. So we discussed it before, but let's just remind us. So in halachically, what's considered to be wet, right? What's considered to be wet, even like you touch the wet object, whatever. Let's say my hand is wet. I want to know it's halachically wet or not. So I touch it and I bring it to the chair, let's say, and I put it on a chair. So and I see if it's moist or not. So if it's not, so it can't, even though it looks like it is wet, so halachically it is dry. So same with this honey. So if you can transfer to the third place and it's wet there, so then it's wet. If not, it's not. Likewise, the butter, which is included in category of milk. One of the 7 liquids, okay, if it is solidified, it is not considered liquid, but rather solid food. However, if it melts, then it's considered a liquid. Unbelievable. So it's very interesting when you have butter and it melted. Very interesting. So sometimes if you want to eat corn, like they call corn, sometimes you put butter on top and put salt or whatever you put on top. So in this case, if it's this corn is very hot, so it's going to melt the butter, so you would need to wash your hands also. Commentary. The Mishnah Berurah 158.16 cites Yadayim 36.6, who maintains that the butter can be considered liquid only if it was melted in a pan before becoming part of the food. However, if it was solid and then it was melted directly on the food, it retains its identity as a solid food and does not require Netilas Yadayim. Okay, see below, Sif 21:19. Okay, regarding this, the halacha of ice. Okay, so according to Yadayim, this butter, I'm not sure why, but so he said only if you did it before the food, like if you want to fry eggs, right on this butter, there is no problem. Then it's going to be considered liquid if you melt it in a frying pan. But otherwise, if you put it in the food, in my example of corn, so according to Yadayim, you would not need to wash your hands. Okay. But according to the Kitzur, you would need to. Okay, so we need to check what Mishnah Berurah says, because Kitzur says very clearly. However, if it melted, then it is considered liquid. Right? And we're talking about butter only. Okay, so we need to check what Mishnah Berurah says about it. Very interesting. So continue. Any questions on what we said? Questions? Okay, no problem. So continue with number 20. Regarding these foods, those foods items that are commonly eaten with one's hands, okay, without using a spoon or fork, the halacha of such food was dipped in liquid is that even if one eats it with a spoon or fork, it requires Netilas Yadayim. So one more time. So usually people eat it with hands. With the hands. But this person eats with a fork and spoon or knife, whatever. So still he needs to wash his hands. Right? Such a food dipped in liquid that even if one eats with a spoon or fork, it requires Netilas Yadayim. However, an item that are commonly eaten only with a spoon, such as dumplings and the like, as well as the fruits preserved in honey. I mean, of course, you're not going to touch it with your hands, right? In a place where it is uncommon to eat them directly with the hands, but only with a spoon or fork, do not require Netilas Yadayim. So let's read commentary and we try to explain. So commentaries say, even if he does happen to touch the food with his hands while it is on a spoon, in the course of the meal, in the course of the eating, okay, see Mishnah Berurah 158:26. So the Kitzur says here that if the people usually eat this food with a spoon or fork, right? Like dumplings, I don't think anybody eat it with their hands or the like, right? Or as well as fruits preserved. I mean, this preserve, nobody would soil their hands, so you eat it with a spoon, right? In a place where it's uncommon to eat them directly with the hands. I'm not sure what would be the good example, where all of the people eat it with implements, but in some place they would eat it with their hands. I'm not sure, but only with a spoon and fork. Do not require Netilas Yadayim. Okay. Okay, so next halacha number 21. Salt that is produced by evaporation of the water is included in category of liquid water. One of the 7 liquids enumerated above in CF 18. Okay, for the water, even when frozen, does not cease to be classified as a liquid. That's an exception. So water is an exception. So there is 2 kinds of salts. I at least I know 2 kinds. So one of them that they get from under the ground, right? Salt, and another is they get from the evaporation, meaning from the salt water. So they evaporate the water and the salt remains. So this salt is actually considered to be water, halachically water. Right, very interesting. And what else is interesting? So the water is always water. Does not matter what condition it is in. So even if it is, as I say, frozen. So for frozen cubes, it's still water. So commentary. Kitzur hold that unlike honey and butter, which when hardened are halachically considered solids, right? As we said, so honey in these candy bars, they are considered to be solid, or butter, which is milk, right? So it's solid food. Water retains the halachic status of a liquid, its exception, even when it is frozen into ice. Thus, the salt that is produced from water has the same halacha as water, despite the fact that it's solid in form. It's very interesting. According to Mishnah Berurah, however, ice is not regarded as water and is not a liquid with regard to this halacha. Okay, so we go by Mishnah Berurah, just so you know. Thus, the Mishnah Berurah rules that that only wet salt is regarded as liquid. So if wet salt is a liquid, and ice, according to this Mishnah Berurah, so meaning the ice do not transmit impurity. So what does it mean? That you can, I guess, take these ice cubes with your hands. I guess that's what it means. Okay, so let's read this first sentence one more time. So Kitzur, salt that is produced by evaporating the water is included in the category of liquid water. So Mishnah Berurah says, I mean, he gives us big discount. I mean, he makes our life a little easier, right? Otherwise, you would need to wash your hands many times, right? So okay, so Mishnah Berurah said, no, if it's dry salt, even it was produced from evaporation, it's not liquid. According to, I mean, we're talking about this halacha only, right? And but moist salt, I'm not sure, maybe from humidity in the air or from, I don't know from where. So there's some water went into it, so it's considered to be liquid. And the water, even frozen, does not cease to be classed as liquid. So that's what Kitzur said, but Mishnah Berurah brings other sources, and he said not. Okay, so we go about Mishnah Berurah, so also big discount for us, very good. Therefore, one who dips a radish or the like in this type of salt is required to wash Netilas Yadayim before eating it. So that's I think the problem. So if you like to eat radishes, like dip it into salt. So if salt is dry, there is no problem. But if it's moist, that's when it presents an issue. Continue. Liquor that is produced from a grain or fruit is not considered to be a liquid with regard to this halacha. Liquor that produced from grain or fruit is not considered to be a liquid with regard to this halacha. For the liquor is considered to be mere sweat. There is a moisture of the grain of the fruit. That's what they call. So this all of the juices they consider to be sweat of the fruit. I mean sweat in double quotes, of course, of the fruit. Even though there is also water present in a liquor during the time of production, and it is also diluted with water afterwards. Of course, I mean, it says the proof is, I don't know, 45 degrees, right? But it's not, right? They put water. Nevertheless, it is not considered liquid, since the water is majority ingredients of the liquor. It is not considered to be liquid, since the water is majority ingredient of the liquor. So what does it mean? Commentary 82. Hence, the water constitutes the majority of the liquor. It would be considered a liquid, and one would be permitted to, required to wash Netilas Yadayim before eating food deep into it. Just one second. So let me read one more time. Something is missing. Liquor that is produced from the grain of fruit is not classed as a liquid with regard to this halacha. Okay, that's clear. Okay, for the liquor is considered to be mere sweat or moisture of the grain of fruit. Okay, but then we add water, even though there is a water present in the liquor during the time of production, of course, and it is also diluted with water afterwards. Nevertheless, it's not considered liquid, since the water is a majority. I'm sorry, that's was a mistake. I apologize. Minority ingredients of the liquor. That's it. That was my mistake. Sorry. Minority ingredients. So the most liquid comes from the sweat of the fruit, as they call it, and minority is water that diluted. That's the thing. So commentary is hence the water constitutes majority. If the water constitutes majority of the liquor, it would be considered a liquid, and one would be required to wash his Netilas Yadayim before eating food dipped into it. So I'm not sure what food you dip into liquor. I'm not sure, but maybe cake. Somebody dip cake into the liquor. Maybe this case. But anyway. So it's only when the water is majority, but it's not water, it's something that they extracted from these grains. Therefore, if one dips any food into liquor and eats that way, is not required to wash Netilas Yadayim. However, with regard to liquor that is produced from the seeds and skins of grapes, or from the lees of wine, it would seem that it is to be considered liquid with regard to this halacha. So let's read one more time the last part, and we're going to explain. However, with regard to the liquor that is produced from the seeds and grape skins, so it's like after they made wine, everything is made. So now they whatever leftover is there. So they want to pour more water and try to make some other liquid, some other drink, right? So in this case, the way I understand that the majority of the ingredients is water. That's why they say from the seeds and the skins of the grapes, or from the lees of wine. So what is the lees? Commentary. Lees is the sediment as a result from fermentation of the alcoholic beverage. So it's like refuse, whatever, right? But still you can use it to make another liquid. So of course it's not as good as original wine, but still you can use it. It would seem that it is to be considered liquid with regard to this halacha. I mean, there is no explanation, but my understanding is because the biggest ingredient is the water. Okay, so we finish the CF. Okay, any questions on what we said, or we continue?
Yes, hello, Rob.
Yes, go ahead.
Does that apply the same to like beer, or what would be considered kosher beer? Because I mean, a lot of the beer is just made with barley and what do you call it? Those other hops and stuff like that.
I hear you. So okay, so I'm talking about America only. So it does not apply to imported beers. Okay, only American beers. So American-made beers, if they do not have any flavor, so that it's kosher. That's it. It's very, very straightforward. But once they start introducing these flavors, like I saw this Samuel Adams. I saw in a BJ's, it was like big box, and they say like, I don't know, like 6 flavors, 7 flavors. So what do they put in these flavors? We don't know. So we need whether kosher stamp that this beer is kosher. We're talking about domestic beers, some American beers only, or it has no flavor, or there's another possibility that you know from a reliable source, from a kashrus agency, that this beer is kosher, right? So some producers, they do not want to put the kosher sign, just so you know, because of the anti-Semitism. So because other people would say, I don't want to buy. Or you work with Jews, guess what? I'm not going to buy your beer. So of course they're afraid, but we have our own lists, and we know, and many things, for example, I would go to OU website when somebody asks me a question. So and I would enter, or I was in the search box, and it gives me much more results. And if you search these results, this product on the internet, it does not have OU sign, does not. And when you call OU, that is special like messaging. You ask them a question, they say that this product is kosher. Say yeah, it's kosher, and does not require the kosher sign. You understand? So and it's going to be kosher up to let's say October 25th. I mean, just making up the date. So because they give this kosher certificate for 1 year. So okay, so you drink simple straight, and not simple. I mean not flavored beer, or the ones that we know for sure it is kosher. So you can go to OU website and see what the beers are kosher, that without stamp, maybe some of them even with a flavor. They still could be kosher. It's kosher in flavor. But it does not apply to these imported beers. Some, I mean, Heineken I think is kosher, but others I'm not so sure. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. So in this case, this beer is also not considered to be liquid. In this sense, even though of course you think that it's majority is water, but it's they call it sweat. They call it sweat of the barley. That's what it is. It's not actually water halachically, even though it is water. But halachically, for this halacha of transmitting impurity, is not water. Okay, so let's if no questions, so let's try to do maybe a little more. So we go to the next Siman. It's 41. And the topic is the laws of breaking bread and Hamotzi blessings. Okay, we covered this topic in Halachas of Brachas in our Thursday class, but since we're in, Kitzur presented in a condensed way, so I think it would be beneficial to go through it. Okay. So Sif number 1. Upon actual bread that is made from one of the 5 species of grain, one recite before eating it Hamotzi blessing, and after eating Birchas Hamazon, grace after the meal. The halacha regarding the blessing to be recited before and after eating Pascha Babi Kisnin bread, we're going to explain later on what is it, will be explained in Siman 48. Okay, so and it's not here, is Siman 48, so it's a bread family, right? So let's try to understand. So what is the 5 species of grain? Wheat, barley, spelt, oats, and rye. Okay. So So Kitzur is using when it's actual bread to exclude the grain preparation that are classed as Pascha Babi Kisnin, as note as in the end of the CFR. Is in this year. So we're going to explain what is Pascha Babi Kisnin later on. Okay, 1 second. Okay, so Pascha Babekisnin, what is it? So they're going to give small commentary. In general terms, this refers to certain types of baked goods that do not usually serve as a main bread of the meal, right? For the exact definition of Pascha Babekisnin and its parameters, so it's going to CF48. We're going to get. So basically, in a few words, what does it mean? So all of our cookies, all of our cakes, right? Everything they have a crust, all of these like pretzels or what else? Crackers, all of these things that are baked, but they're not bread. Sure, not bread. So usually people do not make the meal around crackers or cake. Some people do, right? Or for example, you have Danish. Okay, so Danish is from this category Pascha Babekisnin. It looks very much like bread, so but it's not, right? But it's not. So but if we're going to learn, if you eat enough of this Pascha Babekisnin bread, right? So you would need to say, like for example, that's what you plan. So you're planning to eat 2 huge muffins, let's say, or three medium size. So of course they're very heavy. Muffins are very heavy. They put some there's some liquid inside. Most of them are dairy, I think. Yeah, that's what makes them delicious. They're dairy, so they're very heavy. So if you decided to eat, let's say, 3 muffins, medium size, and you would need to wash your hands, say Hamotzi lechem min haaretz, and then when you finish, you would need to say Birchas Hamazon. So it depends on the weight, but that's basic halacha. Okay, so if it's not bread, but if you decide to make the meal out of them, so it is bread for you. Okay, and you eat certain amount, and same as a cake. So let me see how. Okay, I don't know. Should we start or not? So let me see. Okay, no, it's going to take a very long time. So okay, let's go to the questions and we stop here. If you have any questions on any topic now. Any question? Okay. All right, so we stop here.